the Gen Z revolution. Who exactly are the Gen Zs? In order to understand why they are landing where only egos land, doing that which even the revolutionary Raila Odinga was not able to do with his troops, it's important for us to understand our children so that perhaps we can deal with a situation that threatens to tear this country apart. So who are these Gen Zs? These young men and women are products of the great immunization push. So from birth, they are the survivors. A lot of them are around because if it hadn't been for that immunization drive, a good number of them would not be around. So God loves them. And through the immunization, you see them in their millions. Who are the Gen Zs? These are the children who are the first full beneficiaries, the main beneficiaries, and a bit of the millennials, of free education brought by Mwai Kibaki. And therefore, you see them in their numbers, educated with all the education you can think of, courtesy of free education of Mwai Kibaki. Free education introduces egalitarianism in education, meaning almost everybody has a chance at education. The danger with this egalitarianism is that society must be prepared to create opportunities for this, because otherwise education in many places, and it had been here, would be elitist, the pyramid sort of education, where only a few keep going up, so that at the top only a small percentage of those who started at the base make it. Ours is egalitarian, courtesy of free education. And therefore you have created many, many young men and women, and you have not created opportunities for them. You'll see them on the streets. Who are the Gen Zs? These are the students, if you remember, who participated greatly in school disturbances, the unfortunate instances of burning of schools. Unfortunate as it is, it created a sort of person in them. Apart from the infamous incident in Changuli, these incidents of school burning never produced fatalities. What does that tell you? These students were able to coordinate properly and make sure none of their colleagues or schoolmates was found in those dormitories. This is sad to talk about, but it's there. So to coordinate, as you see them coordinating in the street, is something they learned in the schools. Ask any principal, and I was talking to one of the top principals, recently retired. Ask any of those principals. Even as you ban mobile phones in schools, there are tens, if not hundreds of mobile phones in schools. They are able to coordinate, have them charged, use them, hide them enough for the school not to know. So, right now, in all the schools in the country, There are thousands upon thousands of mobile phones in public schools which have banned those mobile phones. One wonders why you don't face the reality. Why even after introducing Wi-Fi, ICT in schools, including Wi-Fi, what did you expect the young people to do? You continue to ban mobile. No evidence. Because on the contrary, even in private schools where mobile phones are, the students are doing well. Because at the end of the day, even if you make a mobile telephone, such as great offense, the child will still go home and use a mobile. If it's a question of bad exposure on the internet, why not build firewalls in schools? So that children don't access things like pornography. But they were able to be smarter than all of us in our homes and in our schools. Those are the children in the streets. Those are the Gen Zs. Who are the Gen Zs? The Gen Zs were in school well protected by the law. The Education Act gave the students power to run the schools together with the school administration. So that at one time the principal was having a student as a colleague on the board. And later, that colleague on the board became a student. Yes, those are the students in the streets. You democratized in schools how they will elect their leaders, how they will engage with the schools like equals with the administration, be part of the administration, part of the planning, which is a good thing. But then after that, you think you can stifle them. You cannot stifle them. Those are the people in the streets. Highly protected by Education Act and the policies of the ministry. The people in the streets. Who are Gen Zs? These are the greatest beneficiary of the Children's Act. Where even at home, if you disciplined your child the way we were disciplined, and the way we disciplined our older children, those who are older millennials and Gen X, whatever you call them, you will fall afoul of the law. You'll be arrested for disciplining your own child. It wasn't like that. We have created rescue centers for children so that if a parent mistreats the child in the way in the Western thinking, which in our view was just disciplining a child, the child can be received in a rescue center. And soon, your children will be taken from you to go to be taken care of by the state as you watch. That is the world you have created. Those are the children in the streets. And you think you can manage them by creating fear? Who is in the streets? Who is that Gen Z in the street? Is a product of that Children's Act that at school makes it difficult for the teachers to discipline them in the manner we disciplined our children when our students when I was a teacher at that lower level. Even just shouting at a child is harassment. You could end up in jail. Let's not talk about caning. Ati kuchapa mtoto ya mtu kidogo tu hivi. My friend, unaenda jela. Those are the children who are in the streets. That's Gen Z for you. Those are the children we must now deal with. My advice to all of us, right from our homes to the larger society, and especially to government, is to know if these children can be described as a monster, we created and fed the monster. We made our bed, we must lie on it. And we cannot reverse the clock. The children would not be allowed to run amok. That's not what I'm saying, no. But we need to understand, this is a different child. No, this is a different child. They are smarter than us. We are the ones who have bought them all those sophisticated phones. We have created laws in the country that have been overprotective. They have access to technology. We have provided the ICT infrastructure in schools and everywhere in our homes. I have a powerful Wi-Fi in my house. We have bought them those mobile phones, powerful ones, and we expect them to live like we lived. No. So what are we going to do? We are going to engage the young people. They need this country more than us. They have a future. We don't have a future. We are living on borrowed times. This is not our country. This is their country. And like I read something from, I think, by Paul Mwangi, they must be allowed to write their story. They must be allowed to negotiate their future. Because the country does not belong to me. The country belongs to those young men in the streets. We must allow them to tell their story, to write their story, to discuss their future. As parents, they respect us. As leaders, they respect us. We shall preside over the change. We shall midwife the change. But we shall listen to them. Now that we know who they are, I want to advance this argument a little further, in the interest of all of us, by asking a question. Do you think you can deal with somebody to whom the word fear is alien? The answer is no. I'm not waiting for your answer because the answer is no. Fear is what makes people control others. And the young men are telling us, they are telling themselves, the moment we lose our fear is the moment they lose their power. That is exactly true. A person who is not inflicted by fear and with fear is difficult to deal with. Very difficult. Sigmund Freud will tell us about the child growing up with that instinct of fear. And that is in all of us, because there's a child in all of us, that fear thing. Because the children are not like us. We tremble before authority. The children have never trembled before us, leave alone authority. Then how do you think we can scare them? They don't know fear. So going forward, what am I talking about? Let us not think we can use fear with these young men and women. We've seen it in the streets. Fear is not there. The science is there. Instead of fear, there's the science. Who knew Colgate will render tear gas almost useless? Who knew a mobile phone will be used to organize as a walkie-talkie, more powerful than the police walkie-talkies? Look at the organizational capacity of these young people. We are not going to manage them by trying to suppress them. We manage by talking to them. Let's isolate the issues. Let us isolate the issues and let's deal with those issues together with them. And it will be so easy for all of us. My final warning to all of us is that do not dare. Let us not dare push these children out of the physical space. What do I mean? The worst mistake we can make as a country is to think we can push these people out of the physical space where they cannot physically express their outrage by demonstrating. To do so is to make a grave mistake. Because whenever people are pushed outside the open space, they go under. And that is the genesis of guerrilla warfare. Remember, managing guerrilla warfare is always very difficult. I always wondered, how could Jonas Savimbi, a ragtag thing, harass the Angolan government for so long? Kanini in Uganda have said it, and a few other guerrilla leaders. A country with a huge army, with all the tanks and everything and the planes cannot manage somebody who doesn't even have arms. Because war is manageable if it is conventional. I talked about the Vietnam War in one of my videos. The Americans were losing because they were going conventional. The Vietnamese were being guerrilla in approach. Let us not turn our children into guerrillas. I've mentioned before, organized crime originated from the ban on alcohol, ban on consumption and sale of alcohol, and they went under. And they managed the alcohol trade and consumption, and that is the genesis of organized crime. If you push these children away from the streets by force, we will not manage them. As a person who loves this country, I'll just give a few examples. This country, in terms of ICT and in terms of technology, we are 100 years behind. By 100 years, I'm not counting the years. I'm saying we are as old as you can think about it. We have no technology. As a country, remember, I'm drawing the distinction. The government state of technology is not anything you can talk about. But our young men and women, they are head to head, toe to toe with any other young man, any other young woman across the world in terms of technology. What does that mean? These young men can bring the country to a standstill using technology. Let us not play. Let us not get to a situation where they have made the government payroll and state officers and public servants cannot be paid for 3 months. They have the capacity to do that. They can jam all government systems because government ICT is so backwards. Cutters of the usual money-making schemes. When you want to install ICT programs in government and ministries, it's about money as you are building the ICT infrastructure. When you are employing the people to run them, it's about nepotism. It's about bribery and everything. So we are so backwards against a population of youthful people with education and the best knowledge in ICT. They will finish us. Let's deal with these young men on the table, not under the table. Under the table, we are no match for them. My advice, again, just know who you are dealing with. They are your children. So you would know. You would know how you have helped to create who they are. Don't pretend you don't know. And therefore, sit down with them, right from your homes to the workplace, to schools and colleges, and at the national level. Sit down with these young people and talk to them. Talk with them. The country will benefit from that discussion, that conversation, an honest conversation between the old people and their children, between the parents and their children, between the government and its youthful population. Sit down and talk.